Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream tonight, where we are going to check out propaganda. Okay, just gonna let a few people join here before we get started. So if you're on YouTube and you're watching the replay, just skip like 30 seconds ahead of time and we'll be good. But yeah, I'm just getting sorted out here. Just making sure that everything is good. I think everything's good on DLive. I can see DLive is going. Perfect. Okay. I'm trying to see if there's any lemons I have to be aware of. But good evening, everyone. It was snowing here today. I hope where you are it was not, because that kind of sucked for April. What is it today? April 20th. So, oh, hello. Oh, I see a few people in the chat. Gary is here. The original Max G-Force. Oh, Tamajit, that's you, Tamsi. Oh, hello, Tamajit. How are you? I'm really good. Broadcasting from the bunker tonight. No, I'm just kidding. My other computer kept crashing when I was recording, so it happened on two streams where I had to literally reboot my entire computer. So I was like, well, screw this. I'm going and taking over the kids area. The kids have the computer, the gaming computer, which is far superior to anything I have. So I told the kids that I'm taking over their space. So you can see it. It's very boyish, my new area, and that is why. Banks, hello to you. Space Hopper, glad to see you guys. I'm so happy you guys can make it today, because we are going to check out the power of propaganda, and it is a real one. And you know, you might think I'm talking about today because some of the things are really similar, but I'm actually talking about, we're in 1945. I wish we were in 1994. The propaganda I want to talk about is 1944 propaganda, and specifically how it managed to keep a losing battle going for an entire 2 years after. So this really does show you the ultimate power of propaganda, and that is what we're going to look at today. Now, I'm not allowed to be doing any kind of, you know, advice or anything like that on here that YouTube is going to be like, no. So I am going to let you all draw your own conclusions as to whether what happened in 1944 is perhaps similar, has some elements of similarity to what is happening now. But it's 1944 is a crazy year for Germany. And okay, so just in case you're like, why is she talking about that? You guys all know I've been reading this book. So, oh, you can't see if my lighting's way too bright. It's called I Will Bear Witness. And this is it's a diary. It's Victor's diary from when he was living in Nazi Germany. We've been doing this since 1933. We've been going through it year by year on the stream since we started in 1933. Now we're on 1944. We've done 11 streams now. I'm talking about this book. And I don't know if you guys have noticed these similarities, but what's really poignant or alarming is how fast things can escalate, because the Germany of 1933 was nothing like the Germany that ended up in 1945. Most cities were bombed out. It was just absolutely awful. So the importance is, why I want to look at propaganda today is not how it can brainwash you. I want to look at propaganda under the angle of how it can literally motivate you to keep going in a desperate situation. And I am seeing that happening right now. I will let you draw your own conclusions, of course, because I'm not here to make any content that YouTube will disapprove of. So you're going to have to do this. And I know you guys will, because you guys are all smart and you think for yourselves, and you're not a drone of the modern society. So yes, the book is called I Will Bear Witness. This is volume 2. And I'm going to admit that I didn't do my homework properly, guys. I was supposed to read all of 1944, but my boy my boy Victor here got really, really lengthy towards the end of the war. He just started writing so long, so many pages that I was able to get through 1933 to 1941 super fast. And now it's taking me a long time. Like, look at how thick this book is. It's not a small thing. And this is volume 2. So anyways, I'm on July of 1944. So I'm still going to do my 1944 year with the propaganda because we have sufficient information from reading half the year. And a couple of things to note, super important, that happened in Germany at this time is Operation Valkyrie was one, which is the bunch of dudes try to assassinate Hitler. Not the first time somebody tried to assassinate him, but definitely the most famous time. And that was turned into more propaganda to motivate. And then there was D-Day, right, where we know the troops descended upon Normandy, all the different beaches there, and it was chaos and it was awful. So anyways, in the backdrop of that whole thing, we are following specifically the day-to-day life of Victor, because I think that is something that really allows us to understand historical perspectives, is when you do the day-to-day life of some normal guy or normal woman. Not trying to be sexist here. I just don't, like, he's a guy and he wrote the book, okay? So normal, everyday perspective of somebody who's actually living there. And just so you know, you're like, wait a second, he's a Jew, we know that. What is he still doing there? How come he's not in a concentration camp? Well, Victor, he's happened to be married to a non-Jew, a German, and you're a protected Jew in those situations. The only problem is if your spouse dies, you're not protected anymore, and off to the concentration camp you go. So we can get started on that right away. I don't have any articles that I was going to read this week. There's been so much news this week with the Derek Chauvin trial and the other police shooting and all the mass propaganda that's been happening. Like, it's just too much to follow. And I had this week at work has been really brutal for me. So I haven't had a lot of time, which explains why I didn't read my whole chapter. But anyways, so I'm not starting with any news articles. There's a lot of crazy stuff and I haven't caught up to it, to be quite honest. I'm not even sure exactly what's happening. Oh, I was on a call this week for work because I work as a project manager. So I talk to people all across Canada and sometimes in the United States. And this week I was on a call and somebody who was in Vancouver was telling me that there's some kind of a health unit established in BC. I don't know if you guys have seen that. You probably have. Are restricted within their health area. So I don't know how they're defining it, but they're going to have like reinforced areas where people would typically get out of their little mini border. And I don't know, like, is that true? I don't know if I heard that right, but I'm thinking, yeah, even for BC, that's a little bit extreme. I mean, I would expect that in Ontario or Quebec at this point, but I was a little surprised this is happening in BC. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but hey, Phaenox, Spike C, and who else is in here? There's a bunch, eh? Glenn Llewellyn, Point Fire. Hello to everybody. So anyways, if you've heard about this BC thing, if you want to put in the comments if that's actually true, that would be amazing, because I haven't had a chance to actually check, but I did hear that was something that's happening. Health units are called. So yeah, it's pretty insane that's happening, if it is true that it's happening in Canada. But anyways, I haven't caught up on all the news, so I don't even know what's happening anymore. All I know is it snowed today, and that really irritated me. Okay, let's go into 1944. Okay, political foolishness. Glad you're here. And your dog's news, that was kind of like this week. This week was your dog's news. Hello, your dog's news. Okay, so in 1944, Hitler is at this point openly saying we must exterminate all the Jews. It's not even trying to go around it. Like, he's like full on insane at this point, full on madness, full on satanic. I don't know, call it whatever you want, but anybody that talks about that, about any group of people, it's bad. So the German citizens, the everyday German people, at this point, what the biggest things they're afraid of is the air raids. So they constantly have to go and hide in their cellars. and they're afraid of army drafts at this point, and they're afraid of food shortages. So they've had food shortages. Oh my God, it's like I've never spoken before. Food shortages. Nailed it. So those food shortages have been happening since the start of the war, right? They started with the rationing, and a lot of the food went to the war effort. So, but as you know, at first it was okay. You only get one piece of chocolate and then, you know, whatever it is, like a couple of grams of meat. And then it became, oh, well, there's no more chocolate. And then it was like, okay, we're getting half of that grams of meat you used to get with rice or a potato, or you could still get potatoes, but you can't get, you know, meat anymore. So it slowly went from, oh, it's only a little inconvenient to full-on starvation. Like the Germans are pretty much starving at this point. And it's really bad. So they're really, one of their main preoccupations on a daily basis is they have to figure out what it is they're going to eat. And oftentimes they just don't eat. So a lot of Germans are losing a ton of weight. The army drafts are quite something at this point, because in 1944, there's nobody left to draft. So they're drafting all sorts of weird people and kids. And yeah, so you can imagine you're a mom of a teenager in 1944 Germany. You're pretty afraid that the Gestapo is going to come knock on your door and try to take your 16-year-old son to go and fight on the front, for which you know you're losing the war. Because by the way, in 1944, pretty much all the Germans understood they're losing the war. They got it. They're like, if we would have won, it would have happened already. The mood in Germany is pretty much, we know we've lost the war, but now we're just trying to survive. And a lot of people talk about how long is this going to go on, because they're like, there's no way it can possibly go on anymore. There's no more soldiers that we can give to Hitler. There's no more food that we can eat. Like, how long is this going to do? And at this point, they're really thinking, okay, we want the Americans to walk in here and liberate us rather than the Soviets. So it's a big, like, we'd rather get the Americans. So that was one of the things they're concerned about. Okay. The January 15th, just to show you how like they could just keep taking away freedoms from the Jewish people. By January 15th, 1944, the Jews are no longer allowed to mail letters outside of Germany. So that's it. They've issued like a police control card that you need that card to be able to send a letter abroad. If you don't have that card, you can't. And of course, they don't issue those cards to Jewish people. So there we go. One more freedom or one more privilege, I guess, or one more part of being in a society has been removed from the Jewish people. Okay, I have to read an excerpt here. Hold on, guys. 291. Must be pretty good if I made a note that I had to read that. Oh, I have to remember where I am. Okay. Oh, 291, here goes. Okay. So he's talking, this is a hoax. It's a heroic hoax. And we are used to hoaxes these days. There's a lot of them, right? So this is what Victor is telling us about a hoax that happened back then. So among the fallen, there was one in the journal of January 19th, 44 that said, ordained by fate, my son, my only dear son, student of chemistry, Lance Corporal Horst Siegfried Weigmann, volunteer, holder of the Iron Cross, second class, participant in the Polish and French campaign, was suddenly and unexpectedly taken from this life in the midst of his studies at only 24 years of age. In deep sorrow, Bruno Weigmann, master musician, Munich. So this is the death notice that he read in the paper. Now Victor says, wait a sec, he knows a physician and his own doctor, another one, that actually knew this guy personally, the 24-year-old person. And this is why it was covered up, because his mother, she was divorced from the father, but she was Jewish. So she's no longer a protected Jew. Remember, if you divorce from an Aryan, you're no longer a protected Jew. So she divorced from the father. She's Jewish. And she was one of those arrested in the last action. So the last action was probably the last time they came to grab all of the Jewish people, round them up and put them in the trucks or the trains. They would either send them to the biggest camp in close to Berlin called Theresienstadt, or they would send them to one of the Polish death camps. So the son went to the police headquarters, said he was a Gestapo officer, wanted to speak to the prisoner and take her somewhere. He actually reached the entrance of the headquarters with her. So he's trying to break his mom out of jail. Like, this is a super heroic 24-year-old. He's trying to make sure, because he understands what's going to happen to his mother. So he impersonates a Gestapo officer and he almost gets her out. He actually reached the entrance of the headquarters with her. Once outside, he would have gotten her to safety. There are said to be many Jews hiding in Berlin. So then he ran into a Gestapo man who knew him. The mother is now in Theresienstadt. The son hanged himself in his cell. And Victor says, hanged himself. Well, was it really suicide, right? So you can see there's similar events happening in our modern day society. Humans don't change. How predictable. But you could see that they manipulate the propaganda because they don't want, this son was a hybrid son, like a hybrid half Jew, half Aryan. So he was probably allowed to behave as a German rather than a Jew. But because he was serving in the army, anyways, he risked his life, and they didn't want the population to know that this guy risked his life for a Jewish mom, his Jewish mom. So they lied. They made up a whole different thing in the paper to hide the fact of what really happened. So yeah, that's what happens. That's the power of propaganda, guys. January 30th, it is Hitler's birthday. And there's a bridge near Victor's house, and he's complaining about how he sees all these people on the bridge, the Hitler Youth. And he's like, he wonders how long is it going to take for us to remove that ideology from the young people's brain. But we'll get to a bit later about what happens with the Nazi youth. Okay, so in February, he's working at a factory this time where I think he has to either stuff envelopes or stack papers. I'm not exactly sure. He doesn't describe it in a way that I was able to understand, but something along those lines. It's a paper factory. And he gets 7 days off of work because he's 62 and he's not doing well in terms of health. And he has 7 days off of work for medical leave. So he actually decides to read Mein Kampf. And he says that this is what he says about Mein Kampf, right? Remember, he's a professor, right? And I'm surprised, to be honest, that he didn't read Mein Kampf before this. So he says, it is as interesting as it is vile and depressing. This book was available, and yet this man was made leader and has been allowed to lead for 11 years now. The German upper class can never be forgiven for that. So you have here, basically, Hitler had literally laid out his plan in a book for everybody to see. In the late 20s, I believe he wrote Mein Kampf, and then it was available in the 30s and as he's rising to power, and yet he was still allowed to continue. This is why, like, when I look at leaders like Trudeau and Biden, this is where I get into shady territory on YouTube. I don't know what I can say. It's worrisome because you know that, and I'm not in any way comparing them to Hitler. What I'm saying is, when you have people who do wrong, even though their plans are laid out in front of you, they can still do wrong for a long amount of time after that. And that's kind of what worries me about the situation that I'm seeing now. It seems almost unstoppable. Like, who's going to stop? Crit, I see you're in the chat. Hello. Glad to see you here. Hope you're doing well. And then there's a couple of other people I've missed in there. Let me see, guys. Hold on. Vernon, I'm not sure if I said hi to you, Vernon, but yeah, what is the talk about tonight, you mean? Are you talking about this talk? If you are, I'm not sure if there's another side conversation. Tonight is 1944 and the propaganda, and explaining how an army and a whole population was able to keep fighting despite knowing full well that they were losing the war. That's what it is about tonight, in case you're joining now. I know that I always get about 15 minutes in, I always get like a huge peak in viewership. And so yeah, I understand that people join a bit later. So trying to keep you all on track here. Okay, so he has to go back to work, and he's explaining how he's seeing all these people around him where they're in these mixed marriages, so Jewish and non-Jewish, and he sees the non-Jewish person die out of old age or whatever, accident, whatever, and this is what I was saying a little bit earlier today, how you get sent to a concentration camp as soon as your spouse dies. So your protection ends as soon as your spouse dies. So imagine living in that. Imagine living knowing that you're gonna, if your spouse who might be ill, it dies, you're dying too. It's a two, you both die. So anyways, hey Plant Boy. East Coast. Oh my God, I keep messing up my words tonight. I swear to God, I've never been this messed up in a stream. It's because I'm all frazzled. East Coast Canadian. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining. Okay, so in Victor's case specifically, he's a protected Jew. His wife Ava, she's not doing super well, so he is himself in constant fear of her dying and him being sent away. He knows he'll be sent away. So he says that he calls that phenomenon, he actually called it the Nazi burning of the widowers. So it's so dark but true. That's what happens. So apparently at this time, remember last time when we were in 1943, I was telling you guys that a lot of the Germans are starting to realize they're losing the war, and they're like, oh crap, like if we don't turn around and start to behave somewhat humanely, we may pay a steep price when the war is over. So you can see Gestapo personnel, Nazi personnel, SS personnel, all starting sometimes, not all the time, and definitely not in the concentration camps, but I'm talking in the main cities, softening it up to the Jewish people that are remaining in the cities because they're afraid. And this is apparently in Berlin, 1944, according to Victor, and what he's been hearing, the Gestapo, they don't even want you to give up a Jew. So if, for example, you're a Jewish person, you leave your house and you're not wearing the star like you're supposed to wear the big star here, if you don't wear it, and a German reports you, the Gestapo will tell the German, look, stop it, which is kind of nice, right? It's kind of turning things around. Whether it's done for the right reason, not sure of it. It's more of a selfish reason than an actual humanitarian reason, because if you believe that, you should have said that from the start. But at least there's some kind of positive outcome that is starting to emerge as a result of the war effort being completely in vain at this point. So because the war effort is still failing, the propaganda is it goes like this. So this is an example. They'll say in the newspaper or on the radio, damage caused to a town in central Germany, or damage caused to a German city east of Berlin, or something like that. But what happens in reality is 80 to 90% of the city was destroyed. So you can see the different words they're using to try to make sure that Germans keep supporting the party through the war effort, keep supporting Hitler, and don't give up on Germany. They are lying to their people every single day. They've been lying for years, but at this point, they've managed to ban anything else that is not their propaganda. So now they have the full attention. Only news is coming out of the Nazi party, so they are able to fully brainwash everybody, fully lie. And the Germans are not idiots, right? They know they're being lied to. They have family that are in these cities. They see their family come from a German city that's been basically 90% destroyed. They take them in, and they hear the stories, right? So it's not like it's a mystery and the Germans are completely in the dark. They understand what's happening. In March, this is a statement straight out of Victor. He says in March, the Nazis may have miscalculated their conduct of the war, but certainly did not in their propaganda. And that is what I think the Germans are most known for, is their epic propaganda, which never ended. And all the way to the end, stuff is going wrong, and they're still hitting you hard with propaganda. So now, taken individually, when you're thinking about the population around you, and this is important for us to understand, taken individually, Victor claims that about 99% of the male and female workers he's surrounded with, they're more or less anti-Nazi. Some of them extremely anti-Nazi, some of them just a little bit, but they're according to him, they're well disposed to the Jews, just meaning they're not bad or mean to the Jews. They're completely happy working alongside them. They oppose the war. They're weary of the tyranny, but fear of the 1% loyal to the regime, fear of prison and bullets, and that is why they don't say anything. So this is where you can see the true danger, the fear mixed in with the propaganda. When you have everybody who's okay with this, most people who oppose this, and only a small amount of people who are okay with this, but yet the majority are afraid of the minority. And it's kind of where we're at. Like, it seems to me, specifically in Canada, but I know a lot of you are from around the world, but in Canada, it seems the majority of people are staying silent. They may not agree with everything going on, but they would rather just not speak up because it's, I don't know, easier, or I don't know. But that when the majority does nothing or is secretly okay with talking to Jews in this case, but outwardly they act neutral, that's how these tyrannical movements take place and continue to operate. And that's what concerns me about a lot of our democratic Western societies right now, is we're allowing, most of us see what's happening in the States and we're going, whoa, this is not good. But it's like we can't say anything, or we don't want to say anything. I don't know what it is, but it makes it really, really tough to overcome, because the power in numbers is there, but not the power in will. It's almost like it's like that. We want to speak up, but we can't. So anyways, I thought that was a really relatable sentence that he said in his book there. Okay, I have to read page 307. Let me get there. Ooh, it's an old book. It's crackety crack crack. I think it was published in the 60s, this one specifically, like actually physically made in the 60s. Oh, okay. It's got the vintage pages, you know, the old pages where you had to, I don't know if you guys have seen these books. I remember seeing these when I was in university, and I had to go to these special libraries to check out books that were in a temperature controlled environment. And there were these books where you had to, the pages were bound together, and you had to take like a small slicer and put it in between the page to slice it open, and so you could turn the page. Anyways, this is the kind of binding that's in this book. So, okay, so I'm trying. Yeah, so here he has a conversation with one of his friends. I'm trying to remember what this one is about. Did I make notes for myself? No, I didn't make notes. I just said read. Oh, I suck. Okay. So I'm just gonna read. Okay, so conversation with one of his buddies there. He says, I shall bear witness, which ended up being the title of his book. The things you write down, everybody knows, and the big things, Kiev, Minsk, you know nothing about. It's not the big things. This is what Victor says in response. He says, it's not the big things that are important to me, but the everyday life of tyranny, which gets forgotten. 1,000 mosquito bites are worse than a blow to the head. And that's absolutely true. This is why I like understanding history through the words of common people who are able to write down their thoughts and their everyday experiences, because you can go on about the war and talk about the technical D-Day and all that stuff, and the war at the front and how many tanks were there. But really, it's how did the people who were just there react, right? And there's many soldier stories like that are super interesting to read. So instead of looking at it from a military or strategic positioning, you look at it from a personal experience position, and it's really very, very informative, because it allows us to understand when you're in a tyrannical environment and these 5 or 6 things happen all within a year, the trend is going to be worse for you the next year after that, right? And that's exactly what we've learned. So, okay. So in May 1st, he also is saying Berlin still even more chilled out towards the Jews. He's in Dresden. Dresden is not as nice as Berlin is now. But then again, you have to wonder how many Jews are left in Berlin, right? There can't be that many left in Berlin. So there was an informer, somebody who gave up a Jew to the Gestapo, and that guy, the non-Jew who gave up the Jew, that guy got a fine for that. And I think the Gestapo just doesn't want to deal with this anymore. One of the big things, one of the most important propaganda words of 1944 is the word total. So total war, we've heard that one, but they would apply total to everything. Total education, total effort, total starvation, I guess you could say too, if you wanted to go down that right. I'm pretty sure they didn't print that in the paper. But total is the propaganda word of 1944. And it was used everywhere at this point. And that is the reason for this propaganda. The reason they're doing this is 1944, the kids are going to war because they've run out of actual soldiers to draft. The elderly are going to war because they've run out. And they're even sending, he calls them the cripple. I don't want, like, don't go panicking in the chat. I'm not calling anybody cripple or trying to be impolite or, you know, whatever. But he gives an example of somebody who goes to war. He's sent to war and he's missing an arm. Like, can you imagine? How are you supposed to shoot a gun? I mean, how are you supposed to drive an army truck? Or like, what are you doing at the front if you're missing an arm? Like, that's the kind of dire state Germany was in. And so when you're living in Germany and you see these people being drafted to go fight for you, you're like, oh, we're in serious trouble now. With the kids, the elderly and the cripple are fighting for Germany, right? The result of the war effort and the propaganda effort, the older commanders, the older senior personnel from the army, a lot of them would come back from a mission. There's an example of a submarine that came back, and the whole crew said, we're not going back out there. Like, screw you, screw Nazi Germany, screw Hitler. We're not doing this again. And these were experienced, seasoned fighters, soldiers, and commanders. All of them get sent to work camps, so hard labor camps, which is essentially slavery. But in their place, they put younger people. And these younger people, they're the ones who were fully brainwashed in the Nazi, the earlier years of Nazi, in the Hitler Youth. So you can see how when you take the kids, you brainwash them for a few years, and then you elevate them to commanding positions in your army, you can see how they are pre-programmed to drive your ideology. So they're like the really motivated ones. This is how Germany was able to keep fighting in a dire scenario, in a scenario where everybody knew Germany was losing. They've known for about a year now, and yet they keep fighting. It's because now, in 1944, you've managed to replace your existing experienced people, the people who had already fought in World War I, they knew about the war. And now you replace them with the brainwashed youth from Hitler's youth from a couple of years ago. That's the power of propaganda. You can see how when it starts and they go after the kids, the outcome is this. And what happens is, in a war scenario, you keep going to war even though you're losing. So you're basically committing suicide, essentially. In a peaceful time, it creates activists. And that is also what we are seeing now. We're seeing all these activist kids going around trying to demolish and destroy America, Canada, any Western part of the world because of the brainwashing that for us in Canada has been escalating and escalating. You guys in the States, it's been escalating since the George Floyd. That was the kickoff of but BLM had started a few years before. And so now you're dealing with the race propaganda, and we're because we're so close to the United States, both close in geography, but also ideologically, we are seeing the same thing in Canada. Canadians have adopted like, it's almost like it's by osmosis, you know, like we've taken on the race thing on behalf of our neighbors down south. So yeah, that's what we're doing. But now we have the activism. So in wartime, you go and become a corporal or whatever. I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me on the army titles because I don't know them all. But you become a commander or whatever. And in peaceful time, you become an activist. So that's the effect of the brainwashing. We're seeing it lifetime. And in 1944, the Germans are horrified to see that now their kids are going, but their kids are brainwashed and they're going hardcore into the war. Like they are full-blown participating. So, okay. Oh, I have a 1944 meme for you guys. So there's if you have to picture it, because it's funny. I was always wondering, like, hey, all the memes that we do today, like they've got to have some stuff like that before. And I was like, aha, I found one. I found one, and Victor gave it to me. So the 1944 meme is, oh, the government has ordered x-rays for the whole population to see who has Hitler in their heart and who has Hitler in their stomach. Anyway, if I was an artist, I would have drawn that meme for you guys instead of saying it out, but I'm not any good at drawing. So you get the audio. It's an audio meme. Okay, look, it's 1944. It's a vintage meme. It's a pre-meme meme. Okay. So one of the signs, yeah, I've covered this. This is the crippled sent to the front. The missing arm guy sent to the military. Now, in May, Victor personally, he's used to seeing this doctor because his eyesight is going, and he's having a heart problems. And he gets a new doctor who, despite all of that, despite the guy being almost half blind in an eye and having a heart palpitations, and anyway, I don't remember what the medical term is, but he has something wrong with his heart, so he can't exert himself. And the doctor still says, no, you're fit for work. And Victor says he can tell by the doctor's demeanor, this is an anti-Jewish doctor. He just does not want to deal with them, and he's being cruel in a way. Okay. So yeah, by June, everything happened in June. June is a big month. June is Operation Valkyrie. Let me see when that was. Valkyrie is the trying to kill Hitler. I'm gonna look it up. Valkyrie, there we go. So that was in early June, I think. Operation Valkyrie, yeah, there it is. Okay. July 20th, was it July 20th? Hold on. Oh my God, this is so long. I need to find a quick article. Wikipedia is good, but it's so long. The July plus. So this was July. Okay, so I'm wrong. It's not June, it's July. June was Normandy. So yeah, because of Normandy didn't help at all. But by July, a lot of these people are saying we're done at the front. And this plot to get Hitler was hatched, and they blamed Hitler for leading Germany into disaster, which they're not wrong. It failed, and unfortunately, because it failed, Hitler was even more emboldened to go after people. So he did kind of what Stalin did a few years later, where he cleaned up in-house, and he took, not even just in the army, this high-ranking SS officer, high-ranking SS officers. I swear that I know how to talk, guys. So these high-ranking SS officers, Gestapo officers, like very important people within the party, and he kicked them out. Stalin killed them. So I guess you can say in this regard, Hitler was a little bit more lenient than Stalin, but Hitler kicked them out of the party and also replaced them with a brainwashed generation of Hitler youth, so who are now old enough to join the party. So that is what happened. So now you have a bunch of people hanging out in the army that are fanatics, Hitler fanatics, and you also now have, because of the Valkyrie operation that failed, you have a whole bunch of high-ranking new neo-Hitler youth people that are also big fans of Hitler, who are pushing everything. And that is how, in 1944, even though there's no food, there is no more personnel to be drafted to the army, and everything is going wrong for the Germans, they still persevere in their war effort. This is why. I've always wondered, how is it possible for such a demoralized population to keep going? Well, that is how. You have the power of the propaganda behind you. And if you relate that to this day. This is where I go into the careful territory. Careful, Julie. If you look at it today and you consider the things that are being banned off of social media. So even if assume you're not red pilled at all, and you are listening to places like MSNBC, CBC for us in Canada, CTV, any of the mainstream media, assume you look at those guys and you're like, yeah, I only listen to them. If you even just stop for 1 second and think, wait a sec, I'm hearing the same thing over and over. I'm never hearing anything else, just the same thing over and over from CTV. I would hope that is going to make people stop and think, why am I hearing the same thing all the time? Is there really no other opinion in the world? If the media says everybody likes tomatoes, am I just going to absorb that and say, yeah, everybody likes tomatoes. I like tomatoes. Everybody likes tomatoes. The reality is not everybody likes tomatoes. It's almost like watching, if you watch documentaries of airplanes crashing all the time, right? So you watch all of the series. You watch the one where the light bulb went off in the cockpit, and then because of that, they thought their landing gear wasn't opening, and then they crashed. And then you watch the Russian guy who let his kid drive the plane, and then that crashed. And then you watch all the other ones. You watch the Hudson River one, like all of the plane crashes, the major disaster plane crashes. And you think, every time I go into a plane, I'm going to crash. Like, that's what happens, right? That's the power of propaganda. So propaganda would be, if I were to say, every time you go in a plane, it's going to crash, that would be propaganda. Because the reality is, some plane crash happen, but not all planes that take off end up in a crash. The airline industry would be done. But the brainwashed people, it's like they're watching those documentaries, all documentaire. Oh my gosh, I feel like I can't say anything today. What is wrong with me? Documentaries. You watch the documentaries of the plane crash, and you think your plane's gonna crash. That's the most direct example of a brainwash that I can give you. So when you think about the stuff the mainstream media is starting, like, if you stop to think, you say, okay, wait, they're recommending that I take the plasticine, right? You guys can decode that. Why is there nobody else saying anything else than you should take the plasticine? Get the plasticine in your arm. Get the jabbity jab in your arm. Why is there, like these are so, to me, it's so easy to see. I don't understand how people cannot see through this. I don't know. Maybe you guys know. Maybe you can put in the chat. Tell me in the chat. This is why I do these live streams, because I love to see what you guys have to say. Why are Canadians, Americans, I don't know, westernized people, why are we so brainwashed at this point? Why is the majority of us not able to see what's going on, that there's direct attacks via propaganda on us every single day? I don't get it. And I don't think we're going to wake up a lot of people, to be quite honest. I'm trying to wake up people. I'm also trying to remain red pilled and not go down the black pill route, because that's really dark space and I don't want to be there. But I really, truly do not understand. I mean, at work, all I hear is, oh, look, the clinic's open. You can go get your plasticine now. Okay, well, and then they give out links to where to go get your plasticine. What if you why do you feel so confident giving that? If I were to send an article to my team the same way that my colleague did that, if I were to send an article saying, you should stop and think about the plasticine, because maybe it's not in your best interest to get plasticine, like I would get demolished on my team, because the propaganda levels are so infused into people at this point that you can't even have a discussion anymore. So it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. I see old white guy in there. Who are you saying good riddance to, old white guy? I hope not me. I'm not quitting yet. Maybe I should. I don't know. I see you guys. You're trying to. Yeah, we're too trusting. That's a very good point. Political foolishness. That is a very good point. We are too trusting because we have never, Canada, aside from our grandfathers who fought in World War II, And maybe we went to Vietnam with the Americans. I don't know, but in my lifetime, we've never had a crisis or a really big problem in Canada, like a war or something big, right? We've had a few natural disasters and stuff like that, but nothing that required the entire country to gather together until this scenario right now. And yet the propaganda is still so intense, right? Yeah, I saw I saw it on Derek's Facebook or something. Somebody from Derek's entourage had said that the meme of 2022 will be that the certain types of the AstraZeneca ones zombies are running faster than the Johnson & Johnson ones or something like that. I thought that was pretty funny because, yeah, we are headed there. Okay, Tamajit, Julie Moore. Wait, hold on. I saw that, Tamajit. Let me get back to yours. Just give me 1 sec here. I'm going to put it up on the screen here just so everybody can see. The huge overnight, yeah, right? I don't know who, like this, and you're right, this is the experiment. We are the experiment. It hasn't been experimented on until now. We are the experiment. The carrot on the stick, they're so upfront about it. Oh yeah, you know what I should have done, guys? I should have done the chat overlay. I forgot to do that so that everybody can see here. There's a few people on DLive. Diana, hello Diana, over on DLive. Yeah, there's a few of you guys on DLive. I hope you guys are doing well on the DLive side. Crit's over there, Diana. Olumjit134R. You are, yeah, you're my new troll of the day. Awesome. Okay, so DLive is the biggest, like DLive. I've been attracting a lot of DLive trolls in the last. It's okay. Crit's gonna handle you, boy. Okay, so yeah, I didn't even know there were huge lineups in Toronto for that. I didn't even know, but I know that the pharmacies in my area are starting to offer it. They're offering the plasticine to the 40 plus category now, or 40. Yeah, if you're 40 or more, and then I think there's lineups there too. It'll show up in the newspaper or the news tomorrow. But yeah, the carrot on the stick. Yeah, 60 years of, yeah, that's right, Mosh Pit. There's 60 years of Marxist indoctrination. You guys know from last week about the indoctrination that I have to go, that my work is going through. I'm personally not participating. And by the way, somebody told me last week that I was, because I said I'm not going to participate in the training, and they said it's the DIE training, diversity, equity, and diversity in, I want to say integrity, but that's not it. Inclusivity. Diversity, inclusivity, and equity, the DIE training. So I said I wasn't going to participate in it. And somebody said, oh, I liked you until now, but then you had to go and virtue signal. And I'm thinking, wait a sec. If virtue signaling is about when you're doing something that everybody else agrees with and you're glorifying yourself over that and posting it. For example, if you post a picture of yourself getting the plasticine, or right after you got the plasticine, and on Twitter and Facebook, and you go, look, I got this. That's virtue signaling, right? What I could potentially get fired for what I'm doing, and I'm not even hyperbolic. And that was Tassaniko put that in the chat for me on Saturday, and I remember this word now. Thank you, Tassaniko. But I like that. I'm not being hyperbolic. In the environment that we're in, I've been told that this training is mandatory, and if I don't do it, nobody says what happens to you if you don't do it. So it's a very dangerous situation, and I'm in the minority. Almost everybody I know is doing the training. I'm in the minority, and I could lose my job. So I fail to understand how that can be labeled as virtue signaling. In that, I'm just stating that I'm not doing something that everybody else is doing at my own peril. My own financial peril, to be quite honest. So anyways, okay, so yeah, St. John, that's a tough one, eh? St. John said, I'm going to put it up on the screen for you guys. she said she just found out her family member got the plasticine, and it's so hard because I'm in the same boat. I'm starting to hear some of my friends, my colleagues, my family are taking it. What do you say to them after that? I just, like, it's too late to warn them, but yeah, my heart breaks the same way. I can't understand why people are doing this. So anyways, yeah, groupthink, Spike C, you think it's groupthink, eh? I agree with the Marxist indoctrination, and that causes groupthink. So it's all tied in together. I tried to Google about the plasticine and I couldn't find anything opposing it. Yeah, you have to dig. So I'm just reading what Tan Danielle said. So Tan tried to get the information on the plasticine, the opposite end, like the other side of it, and it's very, very hard to find. Now, if you're interested in finding stuff, I find that if you go on BitChute or on Rumble and you Google you do a search for it there's a lot of stuff on there, and they don't seem to be removing it, so at least you can get the information there for the time being. Who knows where those are going to go, right? And it's really tricky to know what direction Rumble is going to go in. I'm hoping for them, but let's be honest, I don't know. I'm a little bit worried right now. And it might not just be Rumble. It might be simply something like Canada bans Rumble. Canada controls the internet now, and Canada's internet won't allow Rumble on the internet. Like, that could be what it's about. So I'm not trying to diss on Rumble because I actually like that platform. But anyways, if you want to hear some stuff about the plasticine that you're not seeing anywhere else, you can go there. And yeah, it's a bit alarming. Yeah, old white guy hates those plaid Antifa guys. I'm gonna put that on there just for you, old white guy. Okay, Deborah. Yeah. Deborah, they'll take an X-ray. She was paying attention to my history class. Gold star for you, Deborah. Yes, you're right. Maybe they will take an X-ray. Do you have Klaus in your heart, or do you have Klaus in your stomach? That's a good one. Thank you for making me laugh. This was a tough day, Deborah, so I appreciate that. Okay, yeah, other people got the plasticine. David is saying the same thing. Let me just show you what Binks is saying here, because I don't think this is wrong. Yes, this could very well happen. And it could be earlier than 2022. I think it might happen at the end of 2021 when they've realized that there aren't enough people that are plasticined. So that's my fear, but you're not wrong on that one. It's true. Yes. Oh, guys, are you fighting in the chat? Yeah, old white guy's he doesn't troll. He's not trolling. I troll him, actually. I haven't trolled him in a while, but yeah. Okay. Yes, this is an experiment. You are correct, David. This is an experiment. The only immunity is, and I said this on Saturday, but the only immunity is for the plasticine makers. They are the immune ones after the jab. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Rebel News has been removed. Sorry, guys, I'm catching up to the chat here. Tax Slave. Yeah, the Rebel News has been removed from YouTube. I saw that. They're back on though now, right? Aren't they back on? Oh, I don't know. Ferlin, hello. Vernon, hello to you. Good evening. Yeah, worldwide, you're also not taking the plasticine. Good for you. I'm not giving any advice, but yeah, I'm not giving any advice. I'm just saying everybody needs to learn about the real thing. Yes, Marsh Hawk. Yeah, I am trying to be part of the resistance. Thank you for that. That's a very encouraging comment right here. I am trying to be part of the resistance. I'll do as much as I can for as long as I can. But any form of tyranny, I vehemently oppose. And I'm hoping that I do not see that happen to my Canada. My Canada has already changed. And what I've been trying to do recently is trying to figure out, how do we live in our country now? I find, this is a bit of a tangent I'm going off on, guys, but I find I feel like I'm an immigrant in my own country. I feel like I'm okay. Last on Saturday, in the stream that I did on Saturday, I said, you're in a police state when the your rights have been removed and they've been handed over. The police has the control over your everyday activities, and that's what's happened now in Ontario since last week. And I feel like in that definition that we read, they called us inhabitants of a police state, because you're no longer really a citizen. A citizen has rights. You're an inhabitant. So I guess that's how I feel now. I no longer feel like a Canadian citizen. I feel like an inhabitant, like I'm kind of just there, but I don't recognize what's going on around me. I don't understand the changes. And I'm worried because it's only going to escalate if we allow mass immigration, because then I'm like, wait a sec, we've lost ourselves already in Canada, and now we're going to invite more people to come into the country in this kind of lost soul place that something's going to have to take hold. Some ideology is going to be dominant when there's such a vacuum like we are right now. We're in a vacuum. There's no true ideology running us. It's all chaos everywhere and no true leadership. Nothing really is happening. But as you bring in more people into that kind of a vacuum, there are going to be some groups that are going to be stronger, more powerful, more ideologically driven. I find we're very apathetic in Canada. So will we fight when we see that ideology come in trying to take over, or we will just accept it? I'm a little concerned we will accept it, because right now, if you look at all of the measures that have been implemented so incrementally since last year, since March 2020, and look at the state we're in now, where BC has zones that you can't go out of, and Alberta and Quebec can't come into Ontario anymore via land. I heard that there's a new strand that they found in Quebec. Now, they're Indian strand, because they have to keep throwing these strands at you so that we keep panic. We keep staying in our state of fear, and we're afraid, and we listen to the government. That's what they're doing. So now they're like, oh, the Indian, the whatever next, the Filipino strand. I made it up, guys. There's no Filipino strand, but whatever the next strand after the Indian one, just to keep the fear going. It just never ends, and we're all lost in our country. So anyways, I feel like there's going to be some big bad changes coming soon to Canada, and I don't know that we can control it. But anyways, all of that to say, I'm so depressing tonight. But all of that to say that I will fight to get the Canada that I knew growing up back. And I know there's a lot of you guys out there that will fight the same way. But yeah, I'll do whatever I can to keep this going, because I think it's awful what's happening right now. And I don't recognize, I'm an inhabitant. I'm no longer a citizen of my own country. I'm an inhabitant. So, oh my gosh, did I just see Michael Buck in there? Hi. Hey, Michael and I, we've been, he's been following me since, almost since I started my channel. So he's been a long time supporter on here, and this is the first time he caught me live. So yay. I'm super excited about that. But yeah, hello, Michael. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, there, old white guy. Yeah, there. Look, I know you and I are kind of on the same page about Maxime Bernier. I had hope initially until I was able to understand that there is no way that he can do anything to help. The other two powers are too big. It's going to take way more than one guy, one small party. It's going to take like something more drastic than that. So long as we think that this calm little small party can take over, I think we're wrong. It's not going to happen. I could be wrong then, because if you look at Hitler, and I'm not comparing anybody to Hitler, I'm just saying, if we look at Hitler, he was able to start a super small party and gain popularity very quickly. So it is possible. I just don't think it within the Canada context, where we're not coming off of a world war and we're not in a terrible situation yet. I think it's going to take more than just one guy with one idea and one set of good thoughts to change anything at this point. So yeah. Okay, I know it is sad about Maxime Bernier. I just don't think that's the person that's going to help us. They're not, none of them, none of the existing political parties or the future upcoming ones are going to do jack squat to do anything to help you. None of them, to help Canada. None of them. They're all going to play into the world interests. All of them. I have no doubt about that. The only way we can break this apart, in my opinion, but then again, I don't know that much about how to form a party and all that, but it would be just to have enough independence that it forces the government to back off and to not have so much omnipresence in our life. That's the only way. All these independents, maybe that's what immigration is going to do. I don't know. But anyways, we'll see. But yeah, the PPC is not good. Okay, let me just put this one up on here. What do you think of women's periods changing who haven't been vaccinated? Yes, I've heard about that. I don't know if it's because of the proximity to people with vaccine. I don't know what's going on with that. And I said the word, the plasticine. AIs are going to catch me on that one. Dang it. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. This is where the whole spike protein thing, that's what you guys have to look into if you want to see what's going on with the plasticine. Censorship, Julie. Self-censorship. Can you believe it? In Canada, I have to self-censor in 2021. I cannot believe it. But yeah, it's just crazy. I've heard that the proximity or the fluids from somebody who's been plasticine is potentially a problem for the non-plasticine group. So yeah, there are some, but again, everything is experimental. We are the subjects here. We are being experimented on. So who knows how that's going to go. But yeah, we don't know much about anything of what's going to happen with this. So anyways, okay. So guys, I think this is it for me tonight. I will go relax and try not to think about all this chaos. Maybe I'm going to finish 1944 like I should have. Yeah, plasticinated. Plastinated. Oh my God. Making up these words is going to be so much fun, guys. But yeah, I'll try to finish 1944 and maybe loop it into next week's stream where we do 1945. I may very well do a Saturday stream again if there's more crazy that happens in terms of turning our world into a police state, because I'm following that very closely. So stay tuned for that. There is a pretty good chance I might get a strike from the overlords at YouTube. So if you don't want to miss any of this content, please go follow me on DLive as well. I know DLive is not perfect, but anyways, I'm in the same name everywhere. So you can find me pretty much anywhere. And I think I'm going to start streaming with Odyssey as soon as I can. But anyways, that's it for me, guys. I'm wrapping it up. I hope you all have a fabulous evening, rest of your day, and I will catch you all in the next stream. Bye for now, guys.